welcome to the New Jersey Amistad Podcast, the show where we explore resources and best practices for teaching African and African American history in New Jersey's K-12 curriculum. We aim to highlight outstanding educational practitioners and their strategies and challenges in meeting the Amistad mandate. I'm your host, Dr. J.T. Mills, a member of the New Jersey Amistad Commission. In this opening edition, we will provide an overview of the Amistad legislation in New Jersey and explore the Commission's purpose and mission as we dive into why accurate contributions of Africans and African Americans in New Jersey, the local region, nationally and globally, is so vitally crucial to students' academic maturity to become citizens in an increasingly diverse society. So segment 1, the New Jersey Amistad legislation. The New Jersey Amistad Bill is considered historic, a landmark piece of legislation sponsored by Assemblymen William D. Payne and Craig A. Stanley, and signed into law by New Jersey's Governor George McGurvey on August 26, 2002. The bill created the 23-person New Jersey Amistad Commission, which is considered unique and a pioneering model in the U.S. for its comprehensive, legally mandated, and statewide approach to integrating African American history and the African diaspora across the K-12 curriculum in all subjects, not just social studies, a requirement strengthened by recent legislation. There are other states that have mandates. New Jersey's 23-seat commission sets it apart. Additionally, the commission specified funding and infusion across all subject content, making it stand out as a noteworthy effort to ensure a more complete American history is taught. So in this next part, we're going to discuss the Amistad Bill at work. The Amistad Commission is charged to survey, design, encourage, and promote implementation of education and awareness programs in New Jersey. Concerned with the contributions of African Americans in building our country, including the nature of African civilizations, the geographic origins of African Americans, their enforced migration to the Americas, the nature of slavery and the responses of the enslaved, their roles in the construction of American colonies and the Republic, the creation of African American culture, the fight against slavery, the achievement of freedom, the ways in which Africans constructed their lives in freedom, their opposition to segregation, the establishment of Black institutions, their literacy and cultural productions, the struggle for civil rights, and the contemporary Black condition. So, to do all that, the Commission develops workshops, institutes seminars, and other teacher training activities designed to educate teachers on the subject matter and is responsible for the coordination of events on a regular basis throughout the state of New Jersey and provide appropriate commemoration of the events concerning the enslavement of Africans and their descendants in America, as well as their struggle for freedom and liberty. The Commission's Teaching Resources and Education Support Committee asserts that African Americans and others excluded from the national narrative have shaped this nation's trajectory in important ways. The Commission asserts that the significance of African Americans and others have been devalued in K-12 classrooms. The primary work for this Commission is to provide an inclusive social studies and world history curriculum, especially in the United States. The committee approaches its work with thoughtful urgency. The approach also affirms the need for schools to continue to offer separate courses on African Americans as a subfield of United States history. As in other subfields, women's history, labor history, and ethnic histories, in African American history, scholars interpret the human story from within the African American experience, and through that lens, reveal universal truths about the human experience. Many of the new interpretations of United States history emanate from knowledge discovered within subfields such as African American history. With that in mind, the Amistad Commission's 5 primary goals are to infuse the history of Africans and African Americans into the curriculum to provide an accurate, complete, and inclusive history in New Jersey public school classrooms, provide professional development, in-service workshops, supportive resource tools, and residential summer institute for the New Jersey teachers, create curriculum support materials that help teachers to effectively teach content aligned to the revised core curriculum content standards and the New Jersey Student Learning Standards, and assist in developing lesson plans in accordance with a variety of subject areas, survey design, and promote the implementation of education and awareness programs in New Jersey that highlight the contributions of African Americans to building our country. That can be found at www.nj.gov, education/Amistad. /about. And so where did the Amistad get this name? Why is it called the Amistad Bill? And so some background. The Amistad Incident of 1839. Understanding the historical background that inspired this legislation offers us several teachable moments for our students across grade levels and subject areas. The title of the bill, Amistad, is inspired by the incident many may be familiar with, the 1839 slave revolt that took place on the Spanish slave ship La Amistad, where the enslaved Africans overthrew the crew and eventually gained their freedom after an international legal battle. That is depicted in the 1997 movie starring Morgan Freeman, Anthony Hopkins, and Matthew McConaughey, and Djimon Hounsou. While the movie is entertaining and a historically accurate depiction of the revolt, it is centered on legal and courtroom interactions, making the hero of the movie the American legal system rather than the exploited Africans. So therein is a teachable moment to discuss with students, to talk about perhaps the cinematic liberties versus factual representations of history. One thing comes to mind, of course, is then Disney's Pocahontas, for example. So back to the Amistad. Despite an agreement between several nations in the 1830s, the illicit trafficking of humans continued to be a lucrative endeavor that flourished along the western coast of Africa. Slavery was outlawed by the Spanish via treaty, but it was not in Cuba, where Jose Ruiz and Pedro Montes illegally purchased the three-person human cargo, 49 adults and 4 children. Ruiz would detail how he came to select who he would buy to a correspondent of the New York Morning Herald. He intimated that he had examined them for several days, determining their stoutness to be purchased for his uncle, Don Saturnino, who would, in turn, plan to sell them in Puerto Principe, where he was a merchant. Montes acquired the 4 children from a tobacconist in Macondas Street in Havana. The Uprising. 3 days into the journey on July 2nd, 1839, led by Joseph Cinque, the enslaved Africans overthrew their captors. Several of the captive Africans were able to free themselves with the assistance of the children, who were not restrained and were allowed to move around the vessel. The men secured cane knives. They killed the captain and the cook, but spared the lives of Montes and Ruiz, who would act as navigators to sail them home to Sierra Leone. Montes and Ruiz would adhere to the Africans' instructions to sail towards the rising sun back toward Africa. However, at night, they traversed the vessel northward up the coast of North America for 2 months, losing 10 of the adult Africans due to the lack of food and water. Teachable moment. Navigation and geography. How did they sail without instruments? What were common ocean markers? The sun, moon, stars, etc. that students can examine. So, the capture of the Amistad. Unable to navigate back to Africa, the ship was captured by the U.S. Navy and towed into New London Harbor, Connecticut. The Mende, the prominent tribe from which the Africans were from, were to face slavery or execution. The newly semi-liberated Africans were held in jail in New Haven, Connecticut, a state in which slavery was legal. News spread quickly that a schooner was seized off the coast of New England and towed to New London, Connecticut. They were merely portrayed as violent savages in the media. One newspaper lauded that they were hardly above the apes and monkeys of their own Africa. The language they jabber incomprehensible here. Another teachable moment. The perpetuation of stereotypes in the media, for example. This rhetoric, coupled with the potential litigation for prosecuting the Africans as murderous mutineers against their captors, abolitionists rallied to their aid, forming the Amistad Committee organized by Lewis Tappan, founder of the American Anti-Slavery Society. These allies relied on exposing what was incoherent to the public, their voices in telling their story, their humanity as free people who asserted that condition in revolting in the only way they could to emancipate themselves from their captors. Another teachable moment then. Who were the abolitionists? What does it mean to be an advocate, being an ally to others, standing up for the oppressed? Something students can really talk about. And so the Amistad's legal entanglements. Because the Amistad schooner was overthrown in Cuban waters, the Spanish were initially insistent that the Amistad Africans be returned to Cuba, as they viewed them as property, and demanded the extradition under treaty obligations. President Van Buren, who agreed, and was preparing a ship for deportation to Cuba before the case reached the Supreme Court. The U.S. Circuit Court, prior to that, and the district courts had ruled in favor of the Mende. The case was appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court in 1841. The Supreme Court agreed with the lower court decisions and ruled that the Amistad Africans were never The Supreme Court agreed with the lower court decisions and ruled that the Amistad Africans were never legally slaves, but were free persons who were kidnapped, thus violating Spanish and international law. and demanded the immediate arrest of Ruiz and Montes. The Amistad Africans were ordered to be freed. Teachable moment, the progression through the legal system from district courts to the Supreme Court, perhaps, and international law and relations. Marcus Rediker, author of the Amistad Rebellion, An Atlantic Odyssey of Slavery and Freedom and the Slave Ship, asserts that the significance of the Amistad incident is that it strengthened or energized the white abolitionist movement to adopt more legal strategies in its efforts to emancipate the enslaved. Edward Regemer, Yale Associate Professor of African American Studies and History, states that it is a dramatic story that underscores the federal government's support for slavery. He also contends that the Amistad Affair is an important chapter in the history of American slavery and abolitionism, as it shows the resiliency of people to resist their oppression and the determination of the abolitionist movement to change society and convince people that slavery was an abomination. Teachable moment. Participating in a collective movement to call out injustices can result in change, and also how history repeats itself. Making the incoherent coherent. Rediker details for us that jail, at that time, was very different from today. It could be an open institution in which jailers could exploit the incarcerated by charging the public to see them. So in this case, it became such a spectacle that thousands of people were willing to pay admission to interact with the Amistad Africans through interpreters. Many of the visitors, ordinary people from all walks of life, brought tobacco, food, and other essential items, and even wrote down details of their visits, which they passed on to newspapers. Artists also eagerly sought to interact with them, which is why there are images that exist of the Amistad Africans today. Essentially then, the incident, for the first time in a pop culture term of the day, or as we might say today, we say going viral, the pictures gave slavery a human face that writers, playwrights, actors, journalists, and artists canvassed the public's imagination with the image of a dignified, heroic warrior named Cinque. Paintings, a play, and literary blitzes swayed the public opinion of the Amistad Africans. The incident and its contagious story influenced future movements. The story became a powerful symbol of resistance, inspiring later generations during the Civil Rights Movement and serving as a touchstone for African American culture and the fight for equality. Today, monuments and educational efforts like those by Discovering Amistad, an organization in New Haven, Connecticut, keep the story alive as a testament to courage and the pursuit of freedom. So for me, the art of teaching history is nothing more than storytelling. And in doing so, the truth and the humanity of the persons involved must be at the center of the narrative told to our students. Just as in a movie, the 1997 depiction of the Amistad Revolt, the voices of the Africans, initially undiscernible, were incoherent to the public, but when translated and heard by the masses and the judges of the Supreme Court, they were eventually set free. Cinque asked Adams what words you used. His reply was yours. That is the power for change in knowing the realities of those we perceive as others, those not necessarily of us, but are yet like us as human beings. The Amistad story is an example of how we can find common ground, legally, spiritually, and culturally. That is, when we recognize each other as equally free beings, we can be advocates for others, as the abolitionists were for the Amistad Africans. This transcends race and religion. It allows our students to reflect on how the past connects to the present, to know how history repeats itself. These are lessons we can teach to the next generation as educators. So, envisioning the future, the New Jersey Curriculum website. The Commission recently revamped its curriculum support website. This dynamic platform is designed to elevate classroom experiences and strengthen the implementation of New Jersey's curriculum standards, including the Amistad Law. This innovative resource hub was built with educators in mind. It offers powerful tools and meaningful content to help inspire teachers and empower students. Features of the curriculum website can be accessed at njamistad.com. Some of those features include standards, aligned lesson plans, access to a rich library of lessons tailored to New Jersey's curriculum and the Amistad Law, interactive digital tools. Educators can engage students with interactive resources that make learning exciting and accessible. Professional development opportunities. Professionals can explore curated workshops, webinars, and training materials to support your growth as an educator. And there is student access. Students can now explore the website directly, opening new pathways for independent learning. And then there is support for parents and districts, where they can find strategic resources to help families and school districts effectively implement the Amistad curriculum mandate. Each year, the Amistad Commission hosts a Summer Curriculum Institute for New Jersey educators and administrators. This event provides an opportunity to learn from experts about various approaches to implementing the New Jersey Amistad Law in K-12 education across all subjects. The Institute features plenary sessions, breakout sessions tailored for elementary, middle, and high school educators. There's engaging entertainment in the evening for the professionals. The Commission invites all educators, teachers, administrators, curriculum specialists, department chairs, and more to join us this summer for an enriching and informative experience. This year, the Institute will be held in person at Kane University, July 28th through July 30th, 2026. Good afternoon, Dr. Lammy. Welcome to the New Jersey Amistad Curriculum Podcast.
Good afternoon, Dr. Mills. Happy to be here with you this afternoon.
I'm glad we could find the time to do this for our listeners. Can you give our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am traditionally an educator, mostly in the higher education space. I've been with the commission now for 3 years. I spent 29 years of my career. I look younger than I actually am. I'll say that. But 29 years of my career in higher education, and having worked at Bloomfield College for a majority of that time as an executive level administrator, also spent some time in the classroom, but not in the K through 12 space, but mostly in the higher education space as a assistant professor in space of the doctor program at Seton Hall and Montclair State in particular, specializing in mostly areas of student leadership development, in some of that coursework, as well as intermediate statistics. Saying that, my background is really what I think the board kind of find a little different and unique when I was brought here in December of 2022.
Oh, so in December 2022, you started with the commission. And so what led you to become involved with the Amistad Commission?
It's interesting you'd ask that question. One of my colleagues who was on the assembly and for the state of New Jersey actually reached out to me and said, Pat, this is an opportunity. Are you aware of the Amistad bill, the Amistad law? And quite honestly, I was not. And so it forced me to do some research to kind of understand what she was talking about. And to my surprise, I said, here I am. And living in this amazing state of New Jersey, a state that I love, spent most of my life here, moved here from New York at the age of 13. This is my home. This law been in place for 20 years. And here, as an educator in the higher education space, I did not know anything about it. So when you ask the question, what motivated me, I took a look at my own self and my own journey as a person who believes in education. I was raised in the city, so I went through the New York public school system, moved here, went to the public school system in New Jersey, and then went to private school, middle school, and went to one of the best high schools in our state. I was fortunate to have that experience. And went to 3 different colleges and earned 3 different degrees, and realized that I have never in my lifetime taken a course specifically targeting African-American history. Armed with that information about myself and really bringing a level of self-awareness, I realized what this law meant to the children of New Jersey. I realized the impact that could be there. And looking at the impact and the value of really learning true history, and not only learning true history, but for some of our young folks in our state, seeing themselves in the history books and understanding the importance of that and the importance of the work that our teachers are doing across the state, I could not help but to become involved. I was just that impressed.
So you just mentioned something that I too am, a year into this position and having been on a college campus for also a number of years. I bring up, I work for the Amistad now, the Amistad Commission now, and I get the same kind of thing. Well, what's that? And so what has been the greatest challenges in administering the Amistad mandate in New Jersey?
I think and back to your point, your first year, and I used to tell people I work for the Amistad Commission, and a lot of people did not know what it was, similar to my experience. And I think my first challenge was to raise awareness.
Okay.
And so I spent my first year speaking to a lot of different people across the state in different community organizations, different educational organizations. building new collaborations and partnerships to raise awareness. We started this program initially with using social media and geofencing and sending blast emails to anybody who had a designation of EDU in their email address so that we can get the word out. We needed to do that part. And so we needed to have a presence across the state. So my first challenge was, how do I resolve the issue of the lack of awareness? That's the first challenge. And I think the second challenge was we did not have a plan in
Uh-huh.
place to do that. So I was faced with the challenge with our team. How do we build a strategic plan, a 5-year plan, so that we have a direction that we're going? Not only do we have a direction, that we have key indicators of where we want to be, where we're starting from, and where we want to end up. That was a challenge too. And understanding that challenge, we realized that we never spoke to the educators across the state to find out why they're not aware. And if they were aware, what would they be doing differently? So we did a statewide survey to kind of get a pulse of where we were in the state. So those are all the challenges that existed at the very onset of coming on board. But I think the most conflicting issue that I encountered, and I think it's really, New Jersey was the first state in the nation to have a law of this type. And I know what it is to be a pioneer in a space. But what was absent in creating this amazing law that kind of had an amazing intent was there was no consequence for districts that decided that they would not adhere to the letter of the law. And it still isn't.
Hmm.
I think that's a challenge that my team and I have been observing very closely. So now we're looking at how do we feature the districts that are doing so well and make them the highlight of the state? How do we feature the teachers that are doing so well and make them the highlight of the state? Because by people seeing the good in what can happen, motivation can be sparked at some point in time. So that's the approach we're taking now, understanding that, I usually use the example, I speak to different groups. If I'm running a red light and there's an officer parked at the light and I run right through it at 40 miles an hour, there's a very great chance that I will be pulled over
Uh-huh.
and ticketed or questioned. So, because I violated some kind of law, traffic law, what have you. We don't have that level of influence on
Yeah.
telling districts that you must do this. And that's not my approach anyway. Our approach since, my arrival here has been, how do we become a resource to you? We realize that you're not present. What can we do to have you do this amazing work? This is how it's happening. This is other examples of it. And we would love to help you. I think that's the approach that we have now to deal with this challenge that I think is one of the biggest ones that we've encountered.
So in some ways, it's No Child Left Behind got on a federal level, I guess, or national level,
Hmm.
got turned out, and there was no consequences there. But
Hmm.
that doesn't diminish the power of what could be taught and the experiences that children could have based off this education. What are some of the upcoming events and programs or maybe projects that the commission is sponsoring?
Right now we're of course we're in African American Heritage Month currently, and so we have some events happening. We just completed the first, fourth, and fifth grade African American history competition in South Jersey, where we engage over 130 students. We have a second one for North Jersey upcoming in 2 weeks, and we also have the Hall of Fame event on February 20th coming. I have the Women's History Month event on March 14th. My best advice is to visit our website. We
Mhm.
have something going on all the time. But our flagship event, obviously, is our Summer Institute on July 28th to July 30th at Kean University this year. And we're excited about that. We have some very good speakers. Opening speaker is Hassan Jeffries out of Ohio State University. I'm
Mhm.
so excited to work with him, to have him join us. We have our second day speaker is Paul Ortiz, a really, really important figure in delivering messages about inclusivity and diversity. And we're very excited. We have a special program prepared for this summer, and we're hoping to have at least 400 participants, both in person and virtual, this summer.
So, and the institute is largely geared towards New Jersey educators?
The Institute plays a couple of roles. Definitely, New Jersey educators are the primary group that we want to participate, which are teachers in the K through 12 space. The program is structured to address the needs of teachers doing this work from K through 5, 6 through 8, and 9 to 12. There are 3 separate tracks that happen during the 3 days. We also have a track for senior level administrators and social studies supervisors and district level supervisors. We also have a track where we engage students this year. I mean, we've done that for the past 3 years. These are students from different schools across the state. But for the very first time in 2026, we're targeting teacher preparation programs and looking to have future teachers participate in the Summer Institute. And the goal here, John, is really to get teachers engaged before they hit the classroom. So one of the most exciting things that we have upcoming this year, actually, we're launching a statewide survey, trying to partner with our higher education community partners and collaborators who have teacher education programs to begin a survey of college students who are enrolled in these programs to find out, one, are they aware of the mandates that exist in New Jersey? And there are several besides the Amistad Commission. There's the Holocaust Commission, the Asian Heritage Commission, the Latino and Hispanic Commission, the GLBTQ Commission, the Italian Heritage Commission. All of these commissions have expectations in the classrooms in New Jersey. And so our goal in partnering with all the commissions in this effort is to really become a front-facing entity, all of us, before these students graduate from college. And to make sure they're aware of what's happening across the state, what the expectations will be when they hit the classroom, and to begin to provide early tools and resources to help them do this excellent work as they are the future teachers of our state.
So yes, one of the things I wanted to maybe talk to you about was what would you say to some of these, or what's the best, maybe a nugget of advice for these aspiring teachers, future educators, when it comes to this subject matter? Because I think one of the stresses, one of the other things being stressed is that this is just not, the Amistad curriculum is not just about social studies. It transcends that and is should be inclusive to all subject content.
Mhm. Yeah, and you're absolutely correct. It's inclusive of all subject content. And I think that we say to teachers who are, first, congratulations on selecting a field that's life changing. And sometimes we don't take the moment to appreciate people who are in this profession enough. And I often say that if not for a teacher throughout my lifetime, my life would have been different because somebody said something or did something to change my life. So the first thing to share with them is welcome to this profession. It's meaningful work and you have the opportunity to have impact. And with respect to the work of the commissions, it's an opportunity to teach from a lens of diversity and as well to assure that every student in our state has an amazing educational experience. To understand that the diversity of New Jersey and this country is important, and how we teach history among each other is important. How we prepare to have these difficult conversations in the classroom, because teaching in this subject area is not easy, and so it's incumbent upon us as a commission to help with that because there's a lot of anxiety involved in teaching sensitive material in the classroom. And so what I say to our teachers is we're here to serve. We're here to support. We're here to help prepare. And we always going to be, and we always will be, a resource for our New Jersey educators, both current and future.
I think probably that's what might be the crux of what needs to be put out there, because I think there is, I think for some, this idea that maybe when we say we're from the Amistad Commission, they might be looking at us as the educational police or something.
Hmm.
But I think most of all, what I hear you saying is that we want to make sure that they understand that this commission is here to help provide resources.
Correct. Primarily, that's our goal, and we're not here to police anyone. We're not here to point out, you're not accomplishing A, B, C, and D, and we're going to report it. That's really not our intent. Our intent is to serve educators and to serve our students. New Jersey, as the first state in the country to move in this direction, deserve to strive for excellence, and our goal is to help our educators strive for that. because our students deserve it. And I can't think of a better place and time for me in my life right now than what I'm doing right now in New Jersey with our teachers and with our students. I'm happy to be in this space.
Very good. We have just about another minute left. I want to thank you for this opportunity, especially to be able to get out the word about the Amistad. My involvement started with it several years, well, a number of years ago at Rowan University, and so now I have a little bit more hands-on about it. So I appreciate that opportunity. And if there's a parting thing that you would like to say to us, what would that be?
Part of anything I would like to say is stay tuned for what's happening with our commission in particular. Stay tuned with what's happening on our website because it's updated regularly. There's a ton of information there. And we are looking to build a greater presence throughout our state. So information will be forthcoming throughout the state of New Jersey, and just keep an eye out. And our goal is to make 2026 probably one of the most memorable years of this commission. And we look forward to have our community partners work with us. And we look forward to have our team work with the entire state. And John, I thank you for doing this, but this is one of our mechanisms of getting the word out about our commission. And I look forward to being invited to share more in the near future.
Great. I think, well, maybe we can have you on every other show at the end. We can do a little update.
Whatever's required of me, I'm there for.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Have a good one.
And that concludes our first talk with Dr. Patrick Lammy, the Executive Director for the Amistad Commission. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, John.
All right. Thank you for joining us on today's episode. You can reach the Commission with any questions or inquiries about how you can contribute to this effort to Amistad SP at doe.nj.gov. This is the New Jersey Amistad Podcast, brought to you in partnership with the New Jersey Education Association, the American Federation of Teachers, the New Jersey Principals and Supervisors Association, the New Jersey Association of School Administrators, the statewide Parent Advocacy Network, the Garden State Coalition of Schools, and the New Jersey Leadership for Educational Excellence.